Everyone. Welcome to another episode of Tech Niger FM. Uh, Apologies, we couldn't achieve this yesterday. We had one or two issues, but I think we are good today. The graphics should be also be good. And today is going to be another exciting episode on Tech Niger FM. Um, that we'll be discussing about design lead engineering, how you can build scalable fintech and Web3 system for Africa digital future. It's going to be an exciting episode, like I said earlier. And today I have on the show, on this program, someone that I've worked with in the past since school days. Uh, one thing about him amazed me a lot. Moving from product designing to leading engineering team, not even becoming a software engineer, but even to lead an engineering team where he's actually doing fantastic work, building solutions, especially for fintech, where we basically know that is one of the hardest things to even achieve, especially for Africa. And today I have with me on this particular show, Mr. Toby. Thank you for joining us today, Mr. Toby.
Thank you so much. It's a very privilege to be here. Thank you for having me. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much. Thank you
Yeah.
so much. We'll be diving into this conversation about design-led engineering. But before we go into that, we would like to basically know you. We want our audience to basically know you, how you started your career from product designing, uh, being someone that have designed products to the current state at which you are leading engineering team.
Okay. Thank you so much for that question. So my journey into where I am right now, it's not very straightforward. But I started as a product designer. I even started as an artist. Right. I know how to draw,
Wow.
so drawing here and there. But I went to school to study computer science and engineering, so it's a no-brainer for me to learn how to code, right? I think I was one of the first, maybe first 3 or 5 people in my entire department then to start learning how to code. Uh, I
Wow.
don't think I ever, I don't think I ever go home any semester. I'll stay back in school, I start learning how to code and all of that. So, but I did more of product design, and I think I did more of product design for about 6 years of my journey, very focused on product design. But while I'm doing that, I was learning, I was building my skills in coding and all of that. So my transition into, you know, engineering was very intentional because I started it in school days. I've taught a lot of my mates about, I mean, on how to code. I could still remember I started with Pascal. I read one very big textbook with Pascal. I mean, those were days when there was no AI, there was even nothing around remote work. Nobody was thinking, you know, we are going to, there was a time you are going to sit down in your house and be working and all of that. So it's more of know how to read and know how to write code. You know, we used to do something then, it's called dry running. You write code with your hand on paper, and then it must run on the computer. Right? So they were very wonderful days. Thanks to people like you and every other person that I knew that were my seniors then, who actually put me through a lot of things. I learned a lot from my seniors who were, I mean, I was able to work with them because, I mean, in my department, if you say, "Oh, we are looking for a designer," my name will come up either the first or the second
Yes.
person. So
Yes.
I was known by a lot of my seniors. So I get to learn a lot from them, go to their houses, learn and learn and learn. So by the time I left school, I got a job. These were days when there was no Figma. I think it was only Sketch. It was just Sketch and Photoshop. So those were days when we're using Photoshop to do UI UX. It's a very big suffering then. You know, we're suffering. and I got a job in Lagos. It's this fintech company. But it was not exactly a fintech company. It was more like a software agency. So it was
Okay.
someone from the team at Flutterwave who built. There's this product Flutterwave built sometimes. It's called Bata, right?
Better.
This was
Yeah, I know
the
better.
person who built. It was the person who started Bata and built it. So he started his own software company. We're taking projects from microfinance banks and all of that. This was somewhere around 2014, 15, 16, around thereabout. So, this was a company that was making about 20 million naira a month around that time.
Wow.
It was so I learned a lot, but I worked there as a product designer. But
Okay.
companies like that, it's a startup. So if you know how to do something else, before you know it, you are doing something else. So I
Yes, that's
started
true.
building front end applications. I started doing a little bit of back end. I could remember I built one loan management application with what do you call it, with Angular. Then it was very stressful. I still hate Angular today. It was
Angular
very
one.
stressful. I did that stuff, right? So that was how I transitioned from my journey, right? I worked in that company for about 3 to 4 years, did majorly product design. From there, I moved to a company called Coxina, a crypto company. I was leading their front end and design team, right? I was the one doing design at the same time doing leading the front end, but there are other engineers who are writing. You know. So I was doing that. I did that also for about 2.5 years before I left that company. I left that company for another company called Gamer. Now, this is a gaming company. There's nothing
Okay.
like fintech or anything. It was more like
Okay.
build games and all of that. One very good story about Gamer for me is I joined the company at a time when the company was outsourcing um, software. I mean, their software capabilities or one of the functionalities of their software for a French company is called brackets. This thing around tournaments like World Cup. You start seeing
Mhm.
how Nigeria and Ghana played, and when Ghana wins, Nigeria moved to the front, right? That thing,
Okay.
that shows how Nigeria is moving to the front. That's called brackets. It's a brackets
Okay.
tournament software. It's a tournament software. So in the company, they said, hey, this thing is, the engineering lead then said, this thing is impossible to build. We can't build it. It's too complex and all of that. And from where I'm coming from what people like you have taught me, it's about the science. It's not about, there's nothing impossible, right? So I asked the question, I said, why can't we build this ourselves? Everybody said, oh, it's first possible, blah, blah, blah. We left it there. So what I did was I started consulting people within the company who understand how that software works.
Okay.
I put together about 4 to 8 A4 papers. I was doing mathematics on papers. After about 1 week, I started building the application or the software.
Application.
After about 3 weeks, I built the first version and then demo it to the team. They were like, wow, how did you do this? Blah 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 blah. So it became a so apparently there was no software like that in Africa at the time, right? That
Wow.
would that would be the first in Africa, actually. So because a lot of gaming companies usually go out to
Outsources.
do, yeah, they outsource it or they use a software, a foreign software. So that was the first. And then later we started selling this in Europe and US and all of that. And it's still one of the uh, major softwares today. In fact, at the time, the company decided to sunset the entire engineering team. They couldn't let me go because I've made that kind of impact. So I'm still there today, and even now, I'm now more like part of the stakeholders of the company today, right? With employee stock, right? So that was then. So later, one day, I have this side thing that is going on, just one small thing, and then one day someone reached out to me, oh, want to build a payment gateway. I've never built a payment gateway in my life. I don't know how that thing works. I say, okay, let's build a payment gateway. So I reached out to one of the people I know at who built Ayowo. AOO is one
Okay,
popular
I know you.
payment platform. Yeah. So I reach out to him and say, I have this product, let's build and all that. I say, okay, let's build. So we started and all that. I gained a lot from him, but eventually I was the one who finished building that product. So that was my first, actual practical hands-on into fintech. Remember, I started from fintech, but I wasn't doing, real work
More
in
of
building software.
complex work.
I
Okay.
wasn't doing that. But now this was my first one. So I built it, and then after building that one, I built the second one, built the third one. In fact, right now
Like
I'm
that.
building a switch, right? So because now I now work at a company. It's a payment, it's a switching and processing company. It's a
Okay.
very large company, and we have to do, we compulsorily by regulation, we have to do certain kind of business. What business we have to do, like a switching and processing business, payment gateway, PTSA, and then I think super agent or something. Mm. So we are compelled to build some of the softwares. So I mean that's currently where my journey is, and so far it has been amazing. A lot of here and there kind of thing, but so far it has been amazing. At TerraSwitch, where I serve as CTO, the journey continued. I led design and development of our enterprise payment gateway, some of our networking applications, our mobile app. Right now, we are working on our switch, and I'm very, very involved in that. And our payment gateway has processed uh, over, over 2 billion naira right now in less than a year. Okay,
Wow.
right.
Wow.
So and we've done a lot of good things, and we are looking out for more good things here.
Thank you so much. The journey was wasn't a smooth one, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
I remember a project. I don't know, maybe you still remember when we submitted our application for Imagine Cup then. I don't know, maybe you remember
Yes, I
that I
remember.
wanted to I wanted to I didn't it's about HIV testing HIV with saliva, but we
Yeah,
couldn't we
I
couldn't we
remember.
couldn't get what was it called, hardware to complete our application then. It was
Yeah,
actually a beautiful journey with
yeah,
Ficom. I don't remember, maybe Wale or something. But uh thank you so much for this wonderful journey that you've actually talked about. Um some of us, we didn't, like someone like me, I didn't know much about design. It's just coding, 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 coding. So
all right.
it's actually good one for someone like you to move from design to development, because should in case someone is even bringing a design that doesn't worth it, you know how to help and basically
Yeah,
uh train should in case that is being required. Thank you so much for that. So based on this our topic today, how is it easy, or what does design led means to you? Because like you mentioned, you've worked in traditional engineering approach. So how, or what does it means to you when we talk about design led engineering?
yeah. Thank you for that question. It's a very good question. Recently, when I was talking to my one of my mentors, he was telling me that, hey, you know what? In this part of the world, we don't have, uh, we don't have a programming language knowledge, or this programming language works, this one does not work, this is the best choice. That's not really the knowledge we have. Well, the real, that's not really the problem we have. The real problem we have is design. How do we design systems that scale, right?
Yes.
Design-led engineering means building systems from the experience outward, right? Not the code, right? So it means you start by deeply understanding the user journey, the friction
Mhm.
points, the edge cases, the cultural expectations, the regulation needs, reliability needs, and all of that, right? So once you understand all of these things, then you are able to like make engineering decisions, the architecture, what approach are you going to use, which architectural approach, microservices, monolith, modular, the data layers, the payment flows, error handling, and all of that. Now, it is important to design the system, and that's one thing that I've not seen very well a lot in this part of the world. I think I was working on a project last year, and we spent 3 months, 3 months writing documentation. I mean, when I tell people that we're sitting down and we're writing documents, they say, "What are you like? What are you doing? Why are you writing documentation? You finish it in 2 days and you move to coding." I'm like, no, 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 no. It is important to actually, design systems, right? And then you design them for scale. That's where design-led engineering comes in, right? It's not about, and when I say design-led engineering, I'm not talking about putting shapes and images and colors together. This is where the engineers, the designers, basically the stakeholders sit down and talk about the entire system. How does this, how will this work? Okay, this is the regulation requirement. Um, this is the requirements from our users, right? This is the cultural expectation. How do we bake all of these things together and build a system that literally lasts or stand the test of time? When we're building the tertiary payment gateway, right? Or so at Gamer, I also continued from building just the not just the bracket software. I continued to build the Web3 infrastructure, even though today we've not really delved into that. The company had to make another, decision and moved on. But I built the smart contract. We deployed on BSC. We audited with a company in India. It's a Web3 security audit company.
Okay.
Design-led engineering helped us to simplify things around onboarding, transaction confusion, especially if you build payment gateway before payment systems, you discover that it's a lot when it comes to, making sure that the system understands the entire flow of transactions,
Johnny.
especially
Yeah.
when you're dealing with a system like NIPS in Nigeria. To be honest, it's a lot of a lot of headache, right? So, but design-led engineering actually helped us to, reduce frictions on onboarding, create processes that actually helps, you know, helps user to feel safe, basically. So for me, design-led engineering is not design versus engineering, right? It is design guiding engineering decisions to produce systems that are scalable and human-centered. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Because if you are building and you didn't put the scalability into consideration, I think you're just building for your own use. Because before you know, your system, your application can just blow one day, and you'll be like, "How do I scale this system?" So I think from what you mentioned, I think it's actually a good one for you to basically understand how you design it from the get go. Get Make
Yeah.
sure that your application is going to be scalable should in case uh you hit the jackpot later. Thank you so much
Yeah.
for that. The other thing that you mentioned is about Web3 technologies. So I've been thinking that how do you see Web3 technologies in this fintech infrastructure in Africa? Because it's not being used too much, but you've worked on it, you've done something with it. So, how do you see Web3 technologies uh, transforming traditional fintech infrastructure in this Africa that we have?
So yeah, thank you for that question. So first time I had to interact with Web3 was my work at Coxina. We're building a P2P platform.
Okay.
It's a lot. In fact, from the design, from ordinary design, it's already a lot. And that time, we're trying to model something like Binance. And Binance is a
Oh,
lot. There's a lot on Binance. And I was tasked with the responsibility of designing a platform, and I mean product design now. Designing a platform like Binance. I spent a lot of sleepless nights and all of that before my role at Gamer as a senior software and blockchain engineer, where I actually did build a smart contract, Web3 infrastructure. I was working with APIs from this platform called Tattoo. Now, I see Web3 as a layer that enhances African fintech landscape rather than
Yeah.
replacing it, right? No, it's not about replacing, it's more of complementing it, basically. So traditional fintech solves distribution, compliance, and scale, right? Things we absolutely need, right? Basically, but it still struggle with things like trust, transparency, interoperability, and that's one of the things Web3 brings in value, right? So basically, in terms of transparency and auditability, blockchain allows users to, verify transactions without depending on a single institution. That's a powerful trust in place, right? Um, Also, it brings about programmable money, smart contracts, tokenization, automated settlement flow. This allows us to build products that will
Can
reduce
trust.
operational overhead and products we can really trust, right? And then one thing is it brings about cross-border access, right? Which is one of the key things that Web3 or blockchain brings into this, right? Cross-border access. Now, I mean, today, if we are going to, for example, build a switch that does, routes transaction all over the nation, you need to know how it works in Kenya, right? You need to know how it
Okay.
works in um, Tanzania, for example. That is even they call their own switch. They could call it something else. But with Web3 and blockchain, it's the same everywhere. There's nothing like, oh, this is the way it works in this country, or this is the way it works in that country, right? Bitcoin, it's Bitcoin. Ethereum is Ethereum.
Everywhere.
Polygon is Polygon.
Everywhere.
Everywhere.
Yes.
So it
Yes.
brings about that cross-border access. Now, rather than replacing traditional fintech, it actually is a framework or a platform that could actually enhance it. So we could include blockchain in what we're doing. I think there's a company in Nigeria that actually does that, at least to a large extent right now. It's called Zone, right? Zone builds switch. They do it switching and processing. So you can do a switch to switch business with them, and they have blockchain included in their platform. So things like smart contracts, things like actually making sure that you hide or encrypt or secure transaction details on the blockchain, so it's not accessible, it's not hackable, and we have a lot of fraud issues all over the world, especially in Nigeria, right? So Web3 becomes truly impactful when it is integrated with existing fintech rails, payment gateways, wallets, KYC layers, mobile money systems, blah, 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 and all of that. So at Gamer, for example, right, we combine Web2 microservices with Web3 infrastructure to reach about 100K users, right? There's a program we do every year. It's called GamerX, right? So what we are doing right now is to scale that up and to ensure that we can build a Web3 infrastructure or Web3 banking system for gamers across Africa, right?
Wow.
So the future, the future is not necessarily, it's not about Web3, especially now that we have AI, right? So it's more about how do these things complement each other rather than replacing them and all of that. So yeah, that's what it looks like to me, basically.
Yeah. So, just a follow-up question regarding that. So, I was thinking that we have some banks in Nigeria that are traditional banks. Uh,
Yeah.
some microfinance bank, they are basically doing a lot of uh, they're building complex and highly scalable system comparing to all these traditional banks. Example of it is OP. Let's just use OP as a case study. When you make a transaction,
Yeah.
instantly you get an alert compared to all these traditional banks. But is there a way that all these traditional banks can basically incorporate this Web3 just to make their their system much solid? Because you still have some banks in Nigeria, right, that even before you can access their server, right, you have to be inside that bank. They don't allow you to, yes, they didn't allow you to
Yeah,
do like a
that's true.
because they didn't believe something like that because you understand what I'm saying. So is there
Yeah.
a way that all these traditional banks can implement, like you mentioned, the Web3 to just complement what they've built and just to make it much more scalable and solid system? Do you think it's
Yeah, I
something that
think
they can?
yeah. Yeah, I think it's possible. But then again, it's a design. It's more of a design question. How do we design a system that complements what we've already built and also incorporates technologies of the future, right? So these banks, they've built something. Sometimes, like you said, they just don't want change. Like they are
Yes,
static. They just, let's just leave this thing the way
it
if
is
it
working,
works,
just
don't
leave it.
touch it, just leave it, right? Right. So I think there's a way this can work. It would involve a lot of smart minds to come into the entire situation and then look at how, because the idea is not to break down the entire thing that has been built before and start to
Yes.
rebuild it. No, the idea is to build something that complements it and then move forward, right? So I think they can build systems, Web3 systems, blockchain systems that their current system can plug into to build things like trust, transparency, especially cross-border access, right? They can build systems that can complement these things, and then use that to scale what they are doing right now, because the world is really, really, technology is really
Moving
advancing
fast.
right now. So
Yeah, they're
if you
moving
are not
fast, right?
if you are not doing things around AI, you're not doing things around blockchain, crypto, before you know it, you just wake up one day and you'll be like, hey, are we in 1960? Because what's going on? Right? So I believe it's possible, right? And I believe with the right set of people and the right set of mind, they can build a system that can plug in into the existing systems they've built, and then that can help them scale maybe about 10 times, even more better. Again, let's not forget that one of the key areas that Web3 really shines is about transparency, interoperability, and then cross-border access. A lot of these banks are still struggling with these things. I mean, I remember
Yes.
that one of the big headaches in fintech in Nigeria right now is regulation. you know big headache, but I think the government is trying to simplify that day by day. So in my experience at Terra Switch, so uh, I mean, as we're building our switch and all of that, so we get to talk to a lot of regulatory bodies and then a lot of partners, mostly banks, right? And then we got to know that we wanted to do something about processing USD. By the way, our platform has currently processed over, I don't know, it's a lot of USDs right now. I can't remember the number. So right now, and we wanted to work with a bank. We've worked with that bank, processed for about 3 months, only to figure out that that bank is using another bank, and that other bank is using another bank's APIs, and that one is using, and then you just discover that where are we in the chain of this of this entire thing? Because it looks like,
Integration.
so, like, it's a lot. It's a lot, and I think one thing that can help in this case also, blockchain can also help in this case, because if you look at some of these things, this bank is not willing to build their own system because, I mean, one bank has built it. What are the security issues they need to fix and all of that. This bank has built it, even though they are losing money some way somehow. Let's still use them, blah blah blah. So okay, let's just mark up prices, and then let's use them. And then another bank comes and use you that you are using the other bank and all of that. So
Yeah.
I really think that the idea of, okay, because it's not about the fact that these banks cannot build systems. It's about that, okay, regulation, fear of security, fraud, blah, blah, blah. And I think that if these banks actually sit down and think about what Web3 and blockchain can bring into place, I think they can actually design systems that can plug in into what they have right now and then scale their systems and build something better in Africa. Yeah.
Mm, mm, mm. So, thank you for that. I I I read the post, right, about Nokia, where that post is like, we did everything possible, but along the line, we still miss it. I don't know. So, if all these bank doesn't follow the trend of what is happening, I think most of them, people will start using some of them, because you cannot
Exactly.
definitely compare what OP is doing, to what, the likes of traditional bank. I won't mention any name. Traditional banks, what they are basically doing. So,
Right.
uh, the difference is
Right.
totally clear. Thank you for that. We are running out of time, but I still have like, two more questions. So,
Okay.
you've actually built, fintech applications, infrastructure, and the likes. What are the challenges that you actually encountered while building this, solution that you've talked about? What are the challenges? We can learn one or two things from there, and I believe my audience and my listeners will also learn one or two things from there.
Okay. Okay. So thank you for that question. So the first thing I usually used to tell myself is, hey, if anybody wants to build a fintech system right now, to be honest, I can partner with them and probably even be very involved in the entire building and all of that. But I don't think I can ever use my money to start a fintech business. There's a lot of headaches, and that's the reason why I said there's a lot of headaches. The first headache for me is regulation. There's a lot
Yeah,
of fragmented bodies, you know, and it's a very big headache for me, right? So there's no one way to go about it, right? Today this regulatory body is saying this, tomorrow that regulatory body is saying that, and then there's this
okay,
one eye regulation like CBN, who is like enforcing things down your throat while these other ones are still pressing your neck up and down. And these things is not just about following principles and guidelines, building things like terms of use and privacy policy. No, no, no. You have to incorporate them even into the software that you're building, because
yeah,
these guys have a way of auditing these things. So first big challenge is that for me. And to be honest, I've been reading a lot about what the government in Nigeria is trying to do, especially recently. I hope that we're going to get there very soon, but revamp this entire regulatory, fintech regulatory body system. In fact, one of the things I read recently is that they want to actually make it a single body. It's not just
okay,
it's not about 10 bodies. They want to make it single body, which is going to be a very good thing, because what it means is that I can just plug in into one system and fulfill all my regulatory responsibilities. And I don't have
mm,
to, sleep in the night and start dreaming about one CBN officer knocking my door, right? I don't have to start doing that. So that's one challenge. And that one is not something, is not necessarily a coding or software development issue, right? It's more of a policy and
everything.
governance structure, right? So another thing is unstable infrastructure. Now, there's a central switch in Nigeria. Even every switch businesses in Nigeria that is operating a switch, and I think last time I checked, that was about maybe last year, early last year, about 26 companies in Nigeria have a switching and processing license. I think it has increased a little bit now. But
Okay,
one of the things that CBN is trying to do is to reduce that number, because they don't want people holding licenses and not doing fulfilling their responsibilities. So, but there's a central switch. Even these businesses who are doing switch businesses, they have to go through the central switch, right? But the central switch is not stable, and that's NIPS. So another challenge is unstable infrastructure. Because my system have to depend on NIPS to be able to provide values to my merchants and customers. If NIPS goes down, I have issues. I can
Yeah,
lose customer. I can lose a lot of money in
yeah,
just
that's
few
true.
minutes. I mean,
That's
we
true.
heard about what happened to Amazon recently,
Yeah.
and I got to know firsthand that in that few minutes, in fact, some companies are really thinking of suing Amazon. Like, what's going on? What are you
Yeah,
guys
that's
doing?
true.
So
That's
there's
true.
a lot of there's unstable infrastructure right now, and that has been a challenge because our systems have to depend on these systems and all of that. So if that can be solved, it will be very good. I've talked about fragmented payment ecosystem and all of that. Then there's
Yeah.
fraud and security. Fraud is still a big issue. We have to, in fact, by regulation, we have to incorporate AML, anti-money laundering, you know, I mean, put a lot of fraud guardrails in place, both software, in building softwares, and also in terms of governance and policy. We have to put these things in place to ensure, right? So there's another thing. It's called scaling under unpredictable patterns, usage patterns. Let me explain. So we had this company who is also a payment aggregator. They are aggregating payments for companies like OneXpert, Mailbet, very big, and then they want to use us in Nigeria. So they started using us. Their processing at least then was about 30K USD per day.
Wow.
And that's just about 0.1 fraction of their entire transaction volume. So these guys are like, okay, let's test your system, let's see if it works. And then we're going to increase transaction over time. So we got to a point where our system literally broke down. That's that's like scaling under unpredictable usage patterns. So we have to put things together. In fact, at the time it broke down, the client is already like, I don't think we can trust your system and all of that. So we have to literally, you know, re like redesign the entire infrastructure, put things to get in place on in terms of DevOps and all of that to ensure that these people just keep using our system. So that's one challenge, and it can occur if you start having a lot more of those kind of clients, because like I
Yeah,
said,
that's
it's just
true.
about 0.1 of their transactions. They're routing through
Transactions.
many other people. So another thing is talent gaps is also um, another challenge. So I figured out that today, not everybody that says I'm a software engineer on LinkedIn literally understands what software engineering is,
Yeah, that's true. I
right?
agree.
Especially from the point of system design, how to design scalable systems. Not everybody actually know that. You just say software engineer, Golang, TypeScript, blah blah blah. Okay, let's build software, and you start seeing a lot of this and that. So when people like me want to hire, I'm reaching out to my inner circles. I'm not putting job post out there, right? I'm reaching out to, hey, do you have someone you've worked with? Well, I work with this guy, blah blah blah. Is good, okay. As long as it's coming from a trusted person, I'll just go
Yeah.
and do my own, and
You be
then
rest
if it
assured.
start working, I'll be sure. But right now, I can't just go to LinkedIn and say I'm hiring someone, right? Even some of the people I'm mentoring, I go to their LinkedIn, I just say software engineer, blah blah. I say, wait, you are still receiving mentorship. What are you what are you doing on LinkedIn? So talent gap is also part of the entire challenge. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I think time is fast spent. Just to round up, what are the advice that you can basically give to the young African engineers? Like you mentioned, uh, talent gap, but what are the advice that you can give to a young African engineers who want to go into fintech or Web3 solution?
Yeah. So my advice would be, first of all, be honest with yourself. Know exactly what you want to do, what you want to run with. Don't be a jack of all trades, right? So you are doing Golang today, you are doing TypeScript tomorrow, C Sharp next year, and all of that. Be a master in one thing and master it
Yeah.
well, right? That's one thing. Another thing is learn core software engineering. Today, AI is doing a lot of things. I think
Yeah,
AI as a tool for engineers like us is a good tool, right? Because we can 10x our productivity because we already understand what the traditional software engineering is about,
looks
right?
like yes, that's
One
true.
that is coming up, if you are coming up and then today you want to build a product, you slam everything on AI, it produces code for you. You don't even understand what is going on there.
That's that.
Just
Yeah, that's
deploy
true.
as long as it works. No, don't do that. Don't do that. Learn software engineering, learn core software engineering, and know it. Know the deep things of software engineering because that's what is going to really uh, good. So learn engineering and product thinking. If you have I mean, if you have an opportunity, learn design thinking is very important. Learn system design is very important. Also, collaborate with and build with communities. If you can collaborate on open source projects is very important. Also, build real projects. Don't build one e-commerce today that is just cart and shopping system. That's all, but it's not really handling the real scenarios of
Problem.
e-commerce, right? And then you drop that one there, you build this other one, say it's a wallet system, and all it does is just simple mathematics, right? And then it's not really catching every problem of building a wallet, digital wallet infrastructure. So build real projects. Don't be a prostitute of companies. Sit down in a company, make impact, learn, and then move on when it's really the time. Lastly, stay humble, stay curious, and stay consistent.
Thank you so much. Stay humble, keep learning. I think that's the word. Don't just jump into copy and pasting of codes. Basically, understand the core software engineering fundamental. Like you mentioned, uh, on this show, I'm not sure, maybe it's episode 4 or 5, where uh, we talked about legal, something legal, where we brought in a barrister to come and talk about legal stuff regarding startup, uh, where we talk about policy. Should in case you require something for your startup, you can actually watch that particular episode. Is on our channel. You can watch
Yeah.
how the barrister broke a lot of things regarding policy regulations, moving from one country to another, what you can do. Uh, I think is a good one for any of our listeners that want to go into that. You can basically learn one or two things from that. Mr. Toby, thank you so much again for the opportunity to have you on our show. It's a good one for us to have this kind of conversation to basically know more about you, know more about your engineering core, what you've been doing for the last time we met. It's been a while. Thank you so much for that.
Yes.
Uh,
Yes. Thank you
not
so
really
much.
sure if we
Thank
have
you for having me.
a question, but we have some comments, which is stay humble. That's the word. Yeah. Thank you so much to our listeners all over the world where you're actually listening to us. Thank you so much. It's going to be a blessing for us to have you on another episode next week. Thank you so much. And see next week, like I do say, continue building, don't relent. I also believe that when you keep building, no one knows what the future holds. Like Mr. Toby said, you can, I swear, eat a jackpot one day. So, and don't just build, build with scalability in mind so that when
Yes.
your products hit that jackpot, you won't rebuild entirely. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Until next time, stay humble, like Mr. Toby said. Thank you so much. Bye for now.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Yeah. Bye
Thank
bye.
you. Thank you. Bye.